Well, thank you very much, Paul. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. If there's one thing that I would like to say, President Matt served in 85, 86 as president, but during the time that he was a president-elect, he thought of something of a concept very noble at the time. He said that, you know, Rotary is made up of people who have genuine interest in serving others. We want to give part of ourselves to helping others. But President Matt said, but surely there are people, Filipinos, and in fact, people in the world who have the same interest, the same desire to serve others. But, you know, there are certain factors that may not agree with the lifestyle of Rotarians. Second is in RCC, no, in RC, in our Rotary Club meetings, we pay dues. We spend quite heftily for our meals, for our other, for the other things that we have to spend for. Again, President Matt said, maybe there's a lifestyle that may be less suited to this type of people. And so he thinks that, you know, some people may not afford or may not want to spend so much for Rotary matters. And so, to cut a long story short, President Matt said there must be a way of guiding those who want to help their own community, to serve others, to help others, so they can, but they think and act like Rotarians. And so President Matt said, you know, it's about time that we think of an organization that is very much akin to Rotary and the Rotary's role in society, but composed of people of a little bit different in terms of lifestyle. Next, please. And so this RCC program, next please, has these goals. One is, and again, this is very similar to what Rotarians or those in Rotary espouse. One is to encourage individuals to take responsibility for the improvement of their community, village, or neighborhood. It's simple to understand. Of course, we want, you know, people to take care of their own place. We must deviate a little, or at some point in time, we have to realize that the
Jojo.
responsibility over the community is the task not of the other people, but of the people themselves who live in the community. Second goal is to recognize the dignity and value of all useful occupations. That is not difficult to understand. We know that people make people who are in Rotary or people who have different occupations have to have recognition and dignity in their own occupations. No? Next is to mobilize self-help activities and collective work to improve the quality of life. No? So again, RCC is motivated by the desire to improve the quality of life. But this has to be done by our own selves and not by others. No? And lastly, we encourage the development of human potential to the fullest within the context of the local culture and community. Okay. let's go on. Again, make this informal discussion so that we benefit from each other's opinion. Now, a Rotary Community Corps is a group of non-Rotarian men and women. Okay? So, non-Rotarian men and women is formed in any country or geographical area with active Rotary clubs. Okay? Next is must be sponsored by a Rotary club or clubs in the same country or district and may be co-sponsored by a Rotary club or clubs in another country. Okay. So that is the composition of a Rotary Community Corps. So again, let us not make any distinction in, particularly on geographical area or place or location of the Rotary Community Corps. But what is important is that this is sponsored by a Rotary club or clubs in the same country or district. So there could be a question if an RCC in Visayas could be formed by a Rotary Club in Manila. Well, the obvious answer is that it would be preferred. In fact, it would be discouraged to form a Rotary Club outside an RCC outside the Rotary Club's country or district. Okay, next. And we go to the qualifications now of a Rotary Community Corps. See, must have at least 10 members to be officially chartered by RI. So there are only 10 members, and you can form an RCC. So, for example, you have a barangay in a place in the Philippines. You can have the barangay leaders. You can have people in the community who have same interests. Okay. Next is must elect a set of officers. That is a board, a president, a treasurer, a VP, and secretary. Okay. So these are the main officers. See, we have only 10 anyway, so we have 4 or 5 officers to run the organization. Next is must at least once a month, must meet at least once a month. No? Well, of course, now is abnormal times. We are under abnormal times, and so actual meeting might happen in lesser occasions. No, but please note that if these are the people in the community, then they see each other anyway. So it will not be too cumbersome or burdensome to meet more than once a month, no? Or at least once per month. So we are kind of we are kind of encouraging to have actual meeting, still actual meeting, especially that virtual meeting may not be very applicable also in the case of RCCs. No? And then pays nominal dues. In fact, registration of a Rotary Community Corps does not cost at all. You just have to file a form and well, agree on bylaws, election of officers, etc. But dues are nominal, and it's really more to cover the expenses for, let's say, snacks during meetings and all that. No? Now, we raise funds necessary to carry out its own activities and projects. So we raise funds. Um, let's be clear that we do not really encourage dole out. We do not, in fact, we frown upon dole outs. No? So we teach, we train, and we in fact encourage RCCs to raise funds for their own projects. No? Next is implement projects that can be registered on RI project link by the sponsor Rotary Club. Later on, we will say that there are at least 2 projects that are very important for an RCC to do, no? To qualify and to pursue its registration, no? Number one is a community service project, no? So something that is geared towards improving the life in the community. And second is a personal project. That is what is also encouraged, no? So you have, for example, an RCC that will promote hairdressing. No? We have an RCC, for example, which is being coached or which has been coached by a famous hairdresser, Ricky Reyes. No, there is a project called Suklay and Gunting or something like that. They teach people they teach the ladies principally to uh, to do hairstyles, cut their hair, dye their hair, etc. With the two-prong approach, in fact objective, and number one is to introduce livelihood to the ladies in the community, but at the same time also to develop their skills in hairdressing. Now we go to the RCC core elements. Okay, people empowerment is one. People empowerment. One principal objective of an RCC is to really give skills to others or give livelihood to others, no, to the RCC members. Volunteerism, see, taking off from what President Matt said, um, it is part of our nature to help and to serve others. No? And so it's easy for one to understand volunteerism. And this is a core element of an RCC. Third is partner in service. You know, well, especially at this time of the pandemic, etc., it would be hard for Rotarians to go to the areas, they call them areas here in the country, meaning the places where people to go to for the outreach programs, etc., no, for community service projects. So typically, a Rotary Club will contribute to the logistics of service projects in the community, but have to rely on somebody else, on an organization, to implement the projects. So an RCC is a typical partner of the Rotary Club, no? Because an RCC is made up of people living in the community. So they don't have to go, they have to import people to implement projects. They are members of the community. And second, as we mentioned earlier, they themselves would like to do things that would improve the community, that would help the people in the community. So talagang there is that partnership going on between Rotarians or between the Rotary Club and the RCC. Next is self-help. Self-help. This is, we have to emphasize again self-help. No? It's if there's someone who will help the people in the community in a particular area, it should be the people themselves who are residing in that area. We cannot ask the people in the community to keep on, expecting help from others, no. But they can be, taught the skills. They can be taught the knowledge. They can be taught different things, no, management style even. But what is important is it is, self-help in the case of RCCs. Next is the no dole out. No dole out. It may be helpful and beneficial for people in the community that initially Rotarians or Rotary clubs will help an RCC, will help the people in the community, but it is a no-no for us to emphasize dole out as part of the finances of the RCC. Let us remember that the RCC members also have their own self-dignity and they want to preserve that right to rely on themselves for the improvement, etc., the beautification of the community, etc. But while they appreciate that some assistance can be given, especially in the beginning, they themselves do not really appreciate fully, or they do not appreciate at all that they are being given dole outs by the Rotarians or by the Rotary Club or by other people. And lastly, this an RCC is has this unique element of beneficiaries and benefactors. In other words, beneficiaries because they, of course, accept and they receive wholeheartedly any assistance that can be given their way, but at the same time, the benefactors would also like to extend the assistance to the RCC members. Okay, so essential features. One is RI registration. We have a form for RCC registration. This may be downloaded from the Rotary.org website. So it is important that once we meet the requirements, the blanks in the form, we fill up and then we register by submitting this to RI. Next is the organization and leadership. We have to be the one responsible, the Rotary Club, the Rotarians, are the ones responsible for organizing the RCC. So I told you that there is going to be a president, vice president, secretary, treasurer. So that will be part of the organization. And then, of course, they're also the leaders of the organization. Next is two communities per project, two communities projects per year. So one is community development project. So what? Let me recall very quickly that a community project is not necessarily really livelihood. No, it can be an activity of the community that will be that that is important. For example, drug addiction. Uh, to prevent people from or the young ones to engage in drug addiction or drug abuse. Then you have the RCC to lecture the children and then in fact to monitor the activities among the children or among even adults who may be engaged in drugs in the community. Or, for example, this happened so many times before during the time of election when you have different and many posters littering the posts, the lamp posts, the trees, even, etc. So, a community project that will be aimed for removing those junk from the streets, no? Or for that matter, to avoid dengue or pests around the community. One community project that an RCC can be involved in is to make sure that the canals and the gutters are clean so that mosquitoes will not thrive in that area. So many. But of course, you have also the livelihood projects, no? Because that is a principal objective of some community organizations. They have an objective like that. No? Next is that non-political agenda. You form an RCC that we may made up of, let's say, the barangay captain, kagawads, etc. That is okay. You may form an RCC who are, well, in a way, they are not actually politicians, no, but they are politically inclined. I mean, here in the Philippines, we say the barangay is not supposed to be a political animal, no, a political organization. But in essence, we know that in fact they carry on political agenda, no. But what we're saying is that the politicians, the leaders in the barangay and the community, they may form part of an RCC, but let us veer away from the agenda. So we're not using this organization for political ends. No? Next is if it's not political, it's also non-religion specific. No? So we know that there are organizations that are inclined to profess, of course, they profess faith, but again, we shy away from religious objectives. No, they may belong to a particular organization, but we try not to discuss um, religion in RCC organization and meetings. No? And the lastly, very, very important is the guidance of Rotarians. We are being looked up to for the guidance, no? Management, marketing, etc. For example, we have an RCC, well, many RCCs engaged in business objectives. No, they would like to have some livelihood programs implemented, and they need the role of Rotarians, no, in this activity. For example, management, how accounting, how do we hold their money, custody of funds, etc., and marketing even of the produce or of the products that we are made out of these livelihood programs. Okay, let me round down how to organize an RCC. Sorry that I might be exceeding more than 20 minutes, but let me just cover the remaining part. How to organize an RCC is convince the club to use the RCC for sustainable community development. Club means the Rotary Club. We should convince that RCC can be used for community development. And two is appoint a strong RCC committee. You know, to be candid about it, RCC is not has not been very popular in Rotary because our interest is not so much towards developing the RCC. No, so it's not a strong RCC committee that we are able to do. But I think during this time, this is no longer the truth in essence. No, one is one is our we know the value of RCC because during these abnormal times, we know that we have to rely on partners in service, on people who can help us implement our projects. We have very, very good community service projects, but because we are away from the area, that's one. Second is, let's face it, some are not very, very young to really get involved, actively involved in doing things in the community. And third, we are being careful also about our exposure, no, in other areas, no. So I think now there is a compelling reason to come out with an RCC, and it will be a strong RCC. Next is the plan for club community. Again, we think of an RCC being established in a year, but because another year comes in very soon after and run by leaders of the club or by the district, then the continuity comes to comes to a question as a question, no? So we are or we have been espousing the 3 to 1 year terms, no? So first it will be the PN that will serve for 3 years. Then the year after he becomes PE. Then again, then incumbent. No? So 3 years we have 3 years community. And lastly is assess needs of community. Um, it is sad to say that sometimes Rotary clubs think of projects in a community that without consulting, no? Without the assessment, the needs community assessment, no? Community needs assessment. Yeah. So we are lacking in that in some cases, no. So what is important is when we organize an RCC, we have to firstly understand what the community needs. I know of an RCC where the activity was, I think, rag making. Yeah, this rag that we sell for 1 peso a rag to jeepney drivers, and so we have a friend from our community that is in tailoring or clothes making, and so he has the retazos or the excess materials. So we came out with a good idea of getting this scrap textile material, and of course we have some sewing machines available. So we taught the community to come out with some rug making activity. No? So the wives initially were interested. They came out with rugs and they were easy to make. So they were able to manufacture rugs, and we helped in selling them. But later on, not too long after, that project did not gain support. No, people were tired. That they were not good in making use of the sewing machines. They were not good in selling, etc. So they did not. The project did not fly that long enough. Next is select appropriate site. Okay, you need if you want, for example, to have a livelihood program, uh, selling kakanin or selling things for snacks like suman or like bilo or like whatever it is. No, you want to understand first the public school, the target market. No, whether you want market vendors, for example. Now it's the face mask. Uh, you may want to consider that, but you'll have to understand, you have to find out where people usually buy the face mask before coming out with thousands of them to sell. Next is brief community leaders on RCC self-help principles. It's very important that since we are going to the community, we are going to areas where people are lacking in terms of the income, etc., and rely on the help of others. No, we have to brief the community leaders. No, so we talk to the barangay now. about this, in District 3780, every year it happens that there is a signing between the barangays, the different barangays, and different Rotary clubs. No, so there is partnering between a Rotary club and a particular barangay. So we are able to communicate with them. Now, there should be follow through in communicating with these community leaders so that not only are we able to impart the information we need to impart to them, no, but also to get their support for our RCC activities. And lastly, we help them organize by coming out with the bylaws. Again, this is a prescribed form available in the website of rotary.org, bylaws. So you just have to fill in the blanks. There are standard provisions already. Register with RI, okay? That is, of course, imperative. And then the elect officers. So you have to run the election of officers so that people will there will be order. Otherwise, people will be jockeying for positions. No, so you should be able to control the proceedings. Next is sustaining. Now that you have organized the RCC, what do you wish to do after that? One is identify and prioritize projects. So you have to agree with the Rotary Community Corps of members, no, on the projects that you want them to implement. Second is hold monthly meetings with Rotarians. Again, this is important. You have to dedicate a Rotarian. You have to dedicate a Rotarian to take care of the RCC. So, for example, the Rotary Club of, let's say, Loyola Heights, there should be one Rotarian in that club to be assigned to really supervise, to monitor, to control the activities of the Rotary Community Corps. Now, in the same manner, you ask the RCC to attend somebody, let's say the president, of course. The president, of course, from the RCC will attend the Rotary Club meeting. No? So by Zoom, online, they can participate in the meeting of the Rotary Club. It doesn't have to be more than once monthly. No? But it must be followed that they have periodic regular report. They have to have periodic reporting with the Rotary clubs. And number three is involve the club members. Okay, involve the club members. So it's not just one person in the Rotary Club assigned to the RCC, but rather we involve the club members so that there will be continuity. There will be continuing interest in the activities of the RCC. Otherwise, we will forget the RCC if that is done that way. In fact, we also encourage even the spouses because sometimes the RCCs are made up also of ladies who are active, no, active in the activities. Okay, next is to obtain funding. RCCs, just like Rotary clubs, we need funding, and there are sources of funds like matching grants. You know that an RCC is qualified to get a grant. So it's no longer matching grant, but it's a global grant uh, from RI, no, separate from the Rotary Club, no. So if you have 3 or 4 grants from the RI, in the case of the Rotary clubs, you have one coming from the RCC. Fundraising events. So like we say the funds did not be humongous. You don't really need huge balances, but something that will sustain the activities of the RCC. So you will have dances, You might want to promote certain activities like, well, some would have some beauty pageant, no, among young girls, no, or things like that. And then next is annual report to RI, the district governor, and the RBC Foundation. Rotary International requires projects, no, and they are documented. The rule is, I think it's every 2 years. Every 2 years, at least you have to report, no? But I think if it's already on the third year that you have stopped reporting for 3 successive years, then you may be dropped from the roll of RCCs. District governor obviously needs copies of the activities of the RCC, and it would be a nice piece to include in the GML or in the reports of the district governor. Not only activities of Rotary clubs, but of activities of RCCs. RBC Foundation is also interested to know the activities of the Rotary Community Corps all over. No? We say that we have 1,800 or more than 1,800 RCCs around the country. We don't see them, but we don't see all of them. But we see some of them which are very active. No? I have an example that we can show you later on about an RCC in Parañaque City. So one is also in this one in RCC in Parañaque is microcredit, also involved in sari-sari stores, also in sale of spare parts of tricycles, of motorcycles, etc. We also have an RCC in Antipolo that started as a piece of land that was allowed to grow bamboo plantation, and this which can be used now for manufacturing other things. No? And I am very, very proud of an RCC in Cagayan de Oro, in Hingoog Bay. And I will show you some pictures if time permits. No? This RCC of Hingoog Bay in Misamis Oriental, sponsored by I think a Rotary Club, well, in Cagayan de Oro, no, in District 3870. I am very proud of this because it is an RCC that that manufactured the bags that were used as the kit during the Sydney RI convention some years back. No, they manufactured these bags that were being used there. So again, later on, if if we have time, then we can do it. So just a few examples. I have to run very quickly. One is in Brazil. Next slide, please. An RCC in Recife organizes classes in literacy. Okay, professional development in United States, and we have guests from the United States. No, it's an RCC in Maryland organizing an annual run to raise money for projects helping the youth. No? Next is we have another gentleman from Nigeria who is here. It might be of interest to know that an RCC in Bangui in Central African Republic, an RCC in Bangui, co-sponsored by a club in Italy, supports education of AIDS orphans. So that is very important. That is very critical, very useful. No? And one, we have a guest here from India. An RCC in Amravati has aided flood victims by distributing clothes and food packs. Okay, next please. Uh, okay, so just another slide, please. What makes service projects effective? This is a refresher course. Next slide, please. We respond. Next, please. Okay, respond to real issues. And remember that. Now, that is important for an RCC uh, to respond to real issues. One is improve community members' lives. Okay. Next is incorporate the abilities of those who are served. Okay. Service projects yan. These are, you have to pick these items whenever we think of a project, a service project in the Rotary Club or an RCC. Next is the recognize the contributions of all participants as important and necessary. Next is are based on realistic assessment of available resources. Okay, so even in the case of Rotary clubs, we have to count the costs whenever we think of a Rotary service project. What can we afford to do as a project? Next is specific goals and objectives with measurable results. Okay. Again, this applies not only to RCCs but to Rotary clubs. Build effective networks and empower people and communities. Now, I will close with this discussion by coming out with the models for Rotary Club's community service projects. So, next slide is Rotary Club implementing service projects. Next slide, please. Okay. Adapt. So it's the Rotary Club uh, doing community service projects to adapted community through the RCC. Next is model is the sponsoring Rotary Club with a partner institution, and then a Rotary Community Corps will help plan, organize, implement, monitor, document, and report. And next, please. And this is the mode 3, Rotary Club, uh, large, and then there is a MOA with a large partner institution, and then doing the hard project in the Rotary Community Corps. So again, because of this condition of pandemic, we are trying to aim for this kind of mode where we will look for a partner organization that will agree with a Rotary Club in doing hard projects in through the RCC. Okay, so again, in conclusion, we just wish to say that so that we will remember, trust me, no? So Rotary clubs or RCCs in service projects, you have T for time, talent, and treasure. R is for resource mobilizer. U is undertaker, no? S is self-help promoter. And T is transformational advocate. So I will say, trust me, make it happen. And E, enable RCC. And the parting words as written in the purpose-driven life, service starts in your mind. Whenever we have the opportunity, we should do good to everyone. Thank you very much.
The first panelist comes from the Rotary Club of Holy Spirit and was a world-class president in year 2015-2016, and she is very active in her community. Let us all welcome past President Angel Castro.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to start with two slides with photos of our RCC and the projects, sample projects of our club. The first photo shows our Rotary Community Corps, and the sponsoring club is the Rotary Club of Holy Spirit. They are called the Rotary Community Corps of Holy Spirit. The members are the SPED teachers and parents of the Doña Juana Elementary School, which happens to be the adopted school also of RC Holy Spirit. Our direct beneficiaries are the SPED students. From the words of one of the RCC members, the presence of the sponsoring club has brought immeasurable joy to SPED students and teachers. The SPED classes, vibrant, and the students engage. The club celebrates the new Rotary New Year with them, joins them in their annual recognition day, Christmas party, and other important events. The teachers use these events to motivate the students to attend and perform in their class. The club, in collaboration with the RCC, has initiated livelihood programs aimed at helping the in the tr- students in the transition program learn skills that can make them earn when they get to be on their own. Samples of these are rug making, candle making, bracelets, and balloon making. Next slide, please. This slide shows photos of our club, annual medical and dental mission, or RCC dental team of RC Kamuning Central serve with us. There is a group of volunteers from the community that we serve who have been helping us gather needy people in our community to attend and benefit from our projects. In recognition of their assistance and invaluable help to the community, we are considering them as our next RCC. Next slide, please. In our club, when we consider our goals and projects, we think of people, strategy, execution. People, that's us, Rotarians, our beneficiaries, and our partners. The RCC is our partner and or our beneficiaries as well. We engage them. We cultivate a healthy relationship with them. We build on trust, listen to them, their needs and challenges. We get to see their strengths too. This allows us to see a bigger picture, a different perspective, and a deeper understanding of things on the ground in the community that we serve. We strategize, considering that we have a better understanding of the needs, challenges, interests, and strengths of the community. We can prioritize and address their needs, enhance our plans, make better decisions, and focus on our chosen course of action as we honor and respect what is good and important to them. And we execute. We mobilize people to take action. We work and serve with them. Eventually, when they get to be empowered and get to own the program, the question and concern about sustainability is shared or even passed on to them. I would like to share a Chinese proverb that goes, I would, if you want 1 year of prosperity, grow grain. If you want 10 years of prosperity, grow trees. If you want 100 years of prosperity, grow people. By organizing and serving with our RCC, we help grow people. Next slide, please. This is the transforming year, and transformation begins with making a choice, taking a chance, being the change. As a club, We make the choice of expanding our reach. We take a chance, a leap of faith, and we start the change within us. Together with our partners, the Rotary Community Corps, we transform our lives, their lives, our communities, and our little spot here in this world. Thank you and good evening. Back to you, Chair Cecil.
Thank you so much, Past President Angel. Now, with the other panelists for tonight, he needs no further introduction in our district. But for the benefit of the other participants from other district, our panelist is considered the Einstein of Rotary in our district. You can ask him any questions and you will definitely get an answer. He also comes from the Rotary Club of Loyola Heights, past district secretary, and the past district chief of staff. Let us all welcome past President Jesus Jesse Tanchanco. Because he's
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Cecil. And I would like to greet all my friends, especially from those abroad who joined us despite the hours at your place. Anyway, I have also been a past RCC district chair several years ago. And so this is also something that is close to my heart, just like past district governor Jesse Fra. Our club, the Rotary Club of Loyola Heights, over the years, we have been able to form and partner with four Rotary Community Corps. One is what we call the RCC Pedro Dapsi. These are composed of jeepney drivers and operators. Another one is the Rotary Community Corps of Pagwis, bike riders. Another one is JP Laurel RCC, made up of public school teachers. But tonight, I would like to. They've been our force multipliers. We've been able to do so many projects in partnership with this RCCs. They've been able to help us, and we have been able to support the projects that they have been implementing or based on their own initiative, especially in the communities, in our adopted communities. But for this particular, for today, I would like to focus on our fourth RCC because of the role that they've been playing as far as the current pandemic is concerned. And I'm talking about the RCC Life Health Fire Voluntary Group, Fire Rescue Group. Next slide, please. Okay. Since the start of the lockdown, start of the pandemic, they have been conducting various community disinfection activities. In fact, just this morning, they were able to conduct in a small area within our community a disinfection activity. Next, please. Okay. This is another part of their disinfection activities in the nearby communities. Next, please. Next slide, please. Okay. Aside from doing disinfection, they are also frontliners. They transport COVID-19 patients to various medical facilities. This is also the reason why, in terms of support, we also try to provide them with testing, rapid tests and swab tests in case it's needed, because they are always exposed to COVID uh, patients on a daily basis. As you can see, even the PPEs that they wear, we are the ones who donate to them, and even other goods that they need, because these are volunteers. They don't get paid for what they're doing. And so, as a club, we support their activities. Next, please. By the way, they have also disinfected several hospitals like the Philippine Heart Center, the Quirino Medical Center, and the East Avenue Medical Center. Okay, this is another part of the activity in the transport of COVID-19 patients. As you can see, they are exposed directly. Okay, next, please. Next slide, please. But the original purpose really, because they are a fire rescue volunteer group. They also respond to fire incidences in the community, and even accidents. They respond to accidents. So this is not just what they do to respond to the pandemic, but they also respond to other disasters or activities that you know presents danger in the community. Okay, next slide, please. I think we have one more slide. Okay. Well, this is our club partnering with the Rotary Community Corps of Life Help Fire Rescue Volunteer Group. We have been providing them with practically all their needs so that they can function. And they have been helping us also in our other activities where we need them at this time. So with that, thank you very much for this opportunity and have a good evening or good day to everyone.
But thank you very much, PDS Jesse, for your role as a panelist tonight. Past President Angel Castro, thank you very much as well. And of course, Passage Governor Jess Cifra, my dear classmate, thank you for opening our eyes to the wonderful world of the Rotary Community Corps.